Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we will be taking a look at my custom Star Wars Inquisitor. This is just a figure that I've been wanting to put together for a while, and I think I sort of just count it as extended universe. Maybe a forgotten Inquisitor, or one that was left behind on a war-torn planet. Maybe one that failed and never fully made it into the Inquisitor ranks. Who knows, but I think it was a really cool idea, and so I wanted to share it with you guys. The main components of this body, I am using the hood and the helmet from Darth Revan, the chest plate and the lightsaber and the pants from, I believe it's the 5th Brother Inquisitor Black Series figure. The left arm here is from a Death Trooper. The hand itself is from MCU Crossbones, the 2-pack. The right arm is from the G.I. Joe Major Blood figure. The middle torso is from a Shore Trooper. The skirt is from Captain Wolf. The boots themselves, like the feet, are from Kylo Ren. And then the head is from, I believe, a NECA Game of Thrones Jon Snow figure. So we have quite a set of kit bashing here, and I'm really excited to talk about the details. Also, check it out. I do have a rotating turntable now, so that's very, very exciting. But let's get into it. So pulling him off the rotating turntable, let's look at what accessories we have, and I am just going to put the turntable to the side. I don't have editing powers yet, so you're just going to have to deal with me literally moving it. So, looking at accessories, we have the double-bladed lightsaber here. This comes with the 5th Brother Inquisitor figure. I really, really like the details, and I didn't want to paint anything on it. I thought everything was done really well. I thought about putting some black washes into the little venting and stuff like that, but I realized that that would end up just making it look a little bit grimy, and I really liked the clean silver finish that they had on it already. I think it looks really, really nice. The blades are done out of a translucent red. If you've ever owned a Black Series figure, you know about this. There is also a peg for it to go into the figure's back, but due to the modifications I've done on the figure, no more weapon storage, unfortunately. He's just going to have to carry it like a pleb. So that's the lightsaber. Coming over to the Jon Snow head sculpt, this is a head that I custom painted myself, and I actually custom painted a couple years ago. There was a customer who wanted a set of medieval knights, and in part of that, he also wanted me to repaint a Jon Snow head sculpt. And I did all that, and I actually think I even did a whole Jon Snow figure, if I remember correctly. And then he just disappeared off the face of the earth, and so I've had this Jon Snow head sitting around for a while now, and even though it's a couple years back and the paint isn't all the cleanest in some areas, I think it's still pretty good. When you bring it at a distance, you really get a nice fade of the beard. He has a faint scar across his eye, and I think the hair sculpt is really good, and I actually did sculpt some extra hair in there as well. So some of these bits right here, I sculpted in just to make the hair feel a little bit more full, because I was looking at the original head sculpt and then looking at some like magazine pictures and stuff from the Game of Thrones series, and I realized that the hair wasn't 100% accurate, so I added a little bit more volume to his hair as well. So we have this head sculpt here, and this is just recycled and reused, but I think it looks quite good. This is one of the few times that I've actually put white into the pupils to mimic a little bit of reflection of light. Sometimes I like doing it, other times I feel like it takes a little bit away from the character, but in this case, I think it adds a bit of life to him. So I really like this head sculpt. And now we come to the main part of the figure. We've already discussed a lot of the parts, but let's talk about paint. So I'm going to pop this head off real quick, and let's dive in. So my idea for this character, once again, is sort of like a forgotten Inquisitor. And I don't know where that fits into the canon. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with the Inquisitor's canon, but I like the idea of the Inquisitors in general as not necessarily Sith, but people who have been trained by Vader to hunt down the remnants of the Jedi. And so for this character here, I wanted to give him two looks. I wanted to reuse this Revan sculpt that I had, and I repainted it and totally redesigned it. But use it as his helmet. With a cloak, it gives him a much darker, brooding look, which I really, really like. But then on this side, to have it feel very, very Imperial. And so one thing that Vader has on his costume around his neck collar are these silver lines. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. And so I wanted to mimic that in the armor here. So we have all these silver lines coming across the shoulders. The shoulders themselves, as you can see, have some nice battle damage, some chrome, silver, and some gunmetal. The little lapel pieces right here with the red lights have been picked out in gunmetal versus the chrome silver. And then you can see some gunmetal weathering across the chest piece. With the eyes of this mask, I did this very burning, fiery orange color. I like that. I think it's cool that some visors in Star Wars are all blacked out, but Revan's was all blacked out already, and I wanted this guy to have his own character to him. So I did repaint the head, and part of that was giving the fiery, burning orange visor. And so I wanted to carry some of that orange glow into the chest area. I realized since he's lost his full arm, there's got to be something to help power this. And so it's nice to imagine that inside the chest here, there's some sort of energy rig, and there's either venting coming out of the sides or there's just a glow from the internal components here. We have, I believe it's a shore trooper torso armor, or maybe it's a jet trooper torso armor. But normally it's like white or tan. It's been repainted in black. Picked out some nice weathering in there. And let's see if I can get a good image of the brown. Yeah, you can sort of see it in the cracks right there. You can see that the color's a bit different. Throughout this armor, I have dropped hints of brown in there. So there's dirt sort of building up in the cracks of his armor. Once again, maybe he's been stranded out on a planet. The little, I don't know what you'd call these, vents, linings, buttons along the stomach there have been picked out in some chrome silver. The belt is in chrome silver with a little hint of gold on the latch, and then around the controls on the belt also picked out with gunmetal. I also added a pistol holster to the side of the belt, as you can see. And so once again, he's Imperial, so I thought it would be cool to include him with a blaster. Even though he does wield a lightsaber, I imagine him first as an Imperial. And as an Imperial, you know, he uses a blaster, and so blaster first. So he does have that as a sidearm right there. And this comes from the TIE Fighter pilots, I believe. And so does the holster, and so it was just cut off. I shaved it down. I shaved the inside of the belt down as well as the holster area so that it was able to tab in and under, and then it's just glued down. Coming to the skirt piece, this is from Commander Wolf, and I wanted to add this because it helped to add a little bit of volume to the thighs here. The thighs normally have these big, chunky pieces of armor, and it turns out that this torso piece here is a bit thicker than the standard hips are. And so between the belt and this skirt, it sort of helps that transition to make everything look a little bit more proportional. Coming down to the boots here, as you can see, some weathering. The legs and the boots used to be all sort of a matte grayish color. And actually, you can see here where I pulled out the armor. That's what it used to look like. I gave it a black wash and stuff like that. And I know you guys are like, why are these giant gaping holes in the thighs? Well, that's because they're covered with the skirt. And as you pose him, the skirt goes with it. So you never really see the holes in the thighs. As you can see, he can kick up all the way. He can kick back. You never see the holes. And this is a custom for myself. It's just something I wanted to put on the shelf. So not really worried about that. The boots here, these are from I think it's Return of the Skywalker, Kylo Ren, I believe. And I really like these because the lining of these boots, like this stitching piece, runs up onto the boot very nicely, I feel like. And so it looks like it's all one continuous piece up and around the front of the foot there. And so that lines up really well. Besides the fact that the fifth brother has like clown shoes on. His feet are really big and boxy for whatever reason. And it just doesn't look very proportional. It doesn't look very good. So scrapped those, swapped out the shoes. Coming to the Death Trooper arm here, I painted some of these lines in red to add a more almost Purge Trooper type look. I feel like the Inquisitors and the Purge Troopers, they all sort of serve a very similar function. And so I wanted to add some of that red there, which usually denotes some sort of elite guard within the, I guess, Imperial ranks. And then because he does have the Death Trooper arm, he does come with like these little wrist micro missiles on the arm there. And so painted those in a gunmetal, but I made sure to weather them out. There's a lot of brown, as well as you can see some matte black dry brushing along the arm there, and that continues up here as well, and so it gives it a very worn, dirty look. You can see the gloss black under it, but there's a lot of stuff that's fading it out, and so I think that is a very, very nice effect there. Coming to the right arm, once again, this is from Major Blood, but it's been completely repainted. So I removed the shoulder pad because obviously they would conflict up here. The wiring in here is picked out in gunmetal, dry brushed with some chrome silver, as well as you have a red wire running through the front, and the red wire can also be seen running through the back. All his little hydraulics in the arm have been picked out in a little bit of gold. As you can see there, we have some little gold dashes and notches in the arm. And then the arm itself, as you can see, there's some brown running through the cracks of the arm, some more dirt, as well as some nice bright chrome silver dry brushing over some of the edges of these arms here to get that nice weathering. And I really, really like the angles on this. The rest of the suit feels sort of what you'd expect out of Star Wars, maybe a little bit fancier, maybe a little bit more personalized, but generally sort of what you'd expect. And so I feel like the angles of this design really help make the figure stand out. It's a very stark difference, and it goes a long way with the asymmetry. The fingers have all been painted too, as you can see, all been finished with gunmetal and then chrome silver right around the different knuckles or the different joints of the hand. And then a little bit of some matte, or I guess that's more of like a semi-gloss black inside the vents of the hand right there, so that you get just a little bit of difference between the surface and the deeper parts of the armor. Coming around the back here, we have this little back plate, and as you can see, there used to be a hole there, but since then I've modified the armor. So the way it works right now is I took the Revan cape and I pulled it through the armor and I wrapped it around the neck here. So normally you have this control unit on the back and it's tabbed right into this cut here. As you can see, there's a cutout, but I cut it out so that I could pull the cape through and loop it around the neck. And so now you have this cape that flows out the back. And so it looks like it's integrated very, very nicely into the armor, and that was a big goal of mine. Once again, unfortunately though, that means, I mean, you can store it, but there's a lot of gappiness from there, and it holds in, but it's kind of loose. So probably not ideal for your weapon storage. Trying to think of what else there is to talk about. Oh, obviously the head. No duh. So I dremeled out part of the Revan head sculpt just to make it a little bit more adaptable with this peg. And then I completely repainted the mask. So before, the mask was done in a very matte silver, and it was pretty plain. It looked default, and then it had some scuffing on it, but it was just the very chunky, like, paint printed weathering. And so instead, what I did was, let me see if I can actually push this head out of the hood there so we can have a proper look at it. You just sort of push the head down and push the head out. I might not be able to wiggle it out, but even that's more forward. You can see it a little bit more. So I painted it all black, and then I dry brushed the front plate with some gunmetal. And because it's dry brushed, you get some nice like surface speckling on there, and that looks really good. And then I took a translucent red from Createx and I painted it over that band, as well as down like the little front face plates. Because normally the faceplate is red in the center. So now the center is out of gunmetal, and then the side little cheek parts also got picked out in a little bit of gunmetal, and then these little knobs at the bottom picked out in gold. And there's just, and it's just enough gold to make it stand out. I didn't want to add more gold to the faceplate because then it would feel a little too regal and a little too fancy. And so I think this red with the orange and the gunmetal gets the job done. But I do have a little gold button right there on the chest. I have a little gold knob or a little gold latch right there on the belt, as well as 2 gold bits on the back of the control panel on the armor. And so that way, the gold that is in the head and on the hood is not alone. There's some little other elements of gold so that it feels like it fits within the costume. What I really like about this figure is that you have, when you put on this head, it looks very regal, very official, very intimidating. He looks like he has proper authority. And then you swap this out, and all these Imperial elements, like the chrome silver lining, these little lapel button decal pieces, they all get hidden under Revan's hood. Or I guess now this Inquisitor's hood, which once used to belong to the Revan figure. But because of that, it even covers the control panel on the back. And so now you lose all that stuff that sort of denotes him as an Imperial officer, and now you just get pure Inquisitor. So very, very happy with how this figure turned out. This was just a little brainchild of mine. I bought the 5th brother figure, like, gotta be almost 3 months ago now, and I just had it sitting on my nightstand. I'd pick it up occasionally, and I was like, it's cool, but it doesn't feel great. And so now here we are, a couple months later, and switched out a ton of parts, repainted a ton of stuff, and now I feel like he is his own standalone, very individual character. So with that, thank you all for watching. Thank you for checking this video out. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have had making it. And if you want to see more of what I do, check out my Instagram page, Tosh_customs. And once again, I appreciate all your support. Please like, comment, tell me what you like, what you don't like, because I want to find ways to make this channel better and find ways to make my figures better. So without further ado, I will catch you all next time. Take care.